Hello and welcome back to the Busselton Hockey Stadium and our coverage of the Southwest Hockey League Grand Final double header. It's one in the bank for Boynup and now their men's side face hometown heroes Wests. My name's Jackson Barrett. I'm joined for this massive game by Luke McPherson. Luke, mate, 4 quarters that'll decide a premier. They've split the last 2 grand finals, these 2 sides, and they get another crack at it now.
Yeah, there's a real buzz around the ground now. Anticipation building up to what is a massive game for today. Fair few people in the crowd, well lubricated.
Twilight start, so we're away for the 2021 Southwest Hockey League Grand Final. Boynup running to the left of your screen. West's in the red kits to the right. Here's Gilly. Nice start for West, looking to take them forward. Dished one off to Payne. Can't go any further than the top of the D. That one's cleared nicely.
Well done there by McGear to get a stick on it. Bit of an injury concern during the week after doing a quad in the prelim, but he's out there. Scored 2 goals in the grand final last year off the penalty corner variation. He's just too vital to miss a game like this.
So Brooke, they're going to swing it around the back. Gilly peeled off nicely. Goes to hit down the line, doesn't make any sort of contact with it, and it's coming back towards him.
Probably not the finest piece of hockey Fraser Gilly's ever performed. He spent 4 years up in the Premier League up in Perth for Wolves, and he's back down, hometown hero, playing for Wests.
Scott and Tassana share it between each other, nearly nicked by Payne. Another errant pass evades Dalton. Boynup to go down the line now. Overton couldn't quite reach it, so coming back inside now. Pinched away.
Payne and Sewell collecting bodies twice in a row there. It's going to be a big tussle. 2 men who don't want to give each other an inch.
Wetherill, the skipper, chasing a 14th premiership this afternoon. Goes the overhead.
Wasn't 5 there, Trigwell, but those overheads from Wetherill and McGear will be key today.
Here's Columbera. Turns it over to Scott. Comes inside straight away to Brown. Cut off nicely by Payne, who's already been busy in this contest. Coming up from fullback was McGeo. Touched on his injury concern.
Miles Armstrong did well to get a stick in here in the midfield. He's the leading goal scorer in the comp this year, so one to watch out playing up at centre forward.
So Wetherill just shielding his eyes from the sun. He flicks one end to the corner. Getting down there was Trigwell. Big hit on the baseline and nearly flicked on.
Tell you what, that would have been a thrilling start there from Boynup. Exciting. Trigwell going the old Hail Mary off the back foot, knocking it in, and Overton trying to almost play a pull shot and put it in the top corner. Jackson, you're a fan of the pull shot. That's your go-to shot, I hear, in the Cricket Association.
I don't like the short ball. Gilly right half back. Nearly turned it over. Wetherill came in hard. He's pushed high up the ground, and they see it over.
Gilly probably hasn't been as clean as he would have hoped, but you saw there he's got fight, he's got grit, and he's quick too, and he just knows where the ball's going to be, as there's a couple of ugly tackles from Tassana and Sewell on Columbara.
Bit of heat in this one early. It'll be collected by Williamson, who's already directing traffic as far as Wests are concerned. Went the slap, took a deflection off the stick of Tassana, became dangerous, so Columbera.
You see already Columbera not going to take a step back, and I don't think Boynup will be either.
Straight across the circle, and it'll be cleared out by Boynup.
An interesting thing we noticed in the first semi-final when these two met is Brent Dancer spends the first quarter off. He did in that semi-final, maybe to preserve the legs that have seen a fair few kilometres. There's a overhead from McGeo to Overton, and it's
brilliant
a great trap
by Overton. He's done really well there. Stands up Brooke. Pinched nearly by Gilly, but he's given away the free hit.
Didn't look 5, and here's our first card of the game. You're going to see it.
So it's not taken long.
Crab wasn't 5. He came in from the left-hand side. It was probably 4 yards away. The local crowd aren't happy, but I think it's the right call.
Flicked on to Tassana and spread wide to Scott. Down the left wing. Fluffed the push inside. Gilly trying to take on Tassana.
Just the old drop of the shoulder there from Gilly as Tassana committed. Gilly throws an overhead left to the captain.
Towards Hartley. The skipper takes his man on, looking to head down the line. Dalton stands in his way. Free hit. Hartley moves it on nice and quickly in the direction of Columbera, and that one takes a knock and will go over the back line.
Tassana working hard to get back there. He's going to be everywhere today. He's dominant in the midfield.
Payne flicked one onto Hartley.
Thought our umpire there was going to use two hands to give it a short. Still quite clumsy there on Hartley. He'll need to watch himself.
Williamson now just stands up. Trigwell for company. Gets a free hit, moves it on nicely in the corner. Slaps across the top, nice touch by Vuletic just to move it on. West still in possession, however. Overton was there, and that'll be a free hit.
Just unlucky with the advantage there. He was through, but the umpire had blown his whistle, so he's got to bring it back.
So Brook for West. Just skirting around the edges now. Nicely nicked off him. Overton's done some nice things early in this contest. Flicks one down the line.
It was well done by Jones there to get a stick in and knock it forward. Already, Vuletic has made a good lunging save. He's probably one of the older goalkeepers, but he is very agile and moves very well.
West sharing it around the back. Columbera pass to his man on the bench in Coates. Trigwell cut off by Gilly. Important interception. Columbera's had a fair bit of it through the middle of the park already. Shares it out. Gilly goes down the line. Tassana coming up to close the lid on that press. Columbera into Williamson. That's Haig Columbera. And right across the face.
No points to be awarded for that goal, unfortunately, for the home crowd.
Wetherill. Nice flick. Cut off by Williamson, who's been really important for West in the early stages of this one. They've got it at left half now.
Looked like Price there turning it over. Jones picking it up in front of his man, and Wetherill breaks away, looks into the midfield to Fisher.
Fisher tries to go a little further on. We'll have another look at it. Wetherill pushes up to take this one.
Fisher played right half in last year's grand final, has been moved up to the forward line, which is obviously where you put all the best players up there.
Migeok at fullback for Boyna.
Testing that quad early.
Heavy press by Coates, who's the fresh legs on the field. That one all the way out. Nice touch by Laurie Tyler.
Maybe our mail was wrong. It looks like Brent Dance is about to come on as Trigwell gets it in the corner and feeds it back to Tassana.
Here's a chance for Tassana. A strong tackle stands in his way. And a West free hit. So this one will come back to Gilly, you expect. And
I've overloaded the right-hand side here to get it to that right half.
Gilly flicks one on. This will run all the way towards Beckett, who couldn't quite control it.
Beckett sporting the mullet and beard combo.
One of the all-time great mullets. Swinging it around the back now. Boyna. Straight back up the middle.
If Beckett's game is half as good as his mullet today, he could be a shoo-in for best on ground.
Here's Sewell. Playing this afternoon, just moments after his wife was the best on ground in the women's game.
They're out at both sides choosing to overlap that right half. We saw Jones heading up the line there. McGeo trying to feed it into Brown and then get it to him on the outside.
Gilly to bring it back into play for Wests. Takes some ground, goes down the line, looking for Armstrong. Armstrong flicking one on towards Coates.
It was a fairly agricultural tackle from Wetherill there. Dancer on the ball. See what he can create, the former Kookaburra.
Beckett pushing right down to the corner. Brook Gilly. And Scott will have it for Boynup.
You've got the locals trying to jump the fence into the commentary box, the locals.
Trigwell couldn't quite trap the hit down the line. Gilly. Nice little turn to get away from Fisher and then flicks one inside. Chance now maybe for Coates. Facing Wetherill. Out to Beckett. Beckett tries to flick it past Scott. Finds a foot.
He's got his captain here. If he uses him, he does.
A little opening in the D if someone works into it. Gilly was trying to get there. A clever little flick on. Vuletic has nearly taken out the umpire, but dealt with it nonetheless. Long corner. Hartley.
Vuletic, an agile man himself, checking out the umpire's agility there. Hartley on the ball. Can use his right half.
Brooks working up for him in that position. Again, Harry Gilly pushing down to the corner.
There's a few lazy tackles out there, and boys should be careful of getting their stick involved in other players' legs.
The card has already been out once. Wetherill flicks one over to Brown. A couple of defenders to work through, but good decision to go back to Wetherill. Turned over in the end. Flicked inside to Dancer. Here's a chance now for West going forward. Coates back to goal at the top of the day. Had it stripped of him by Dalton.
That was a great tackle there by Dalton.
Flicks one out wide. Smacked down the line, and that'll travel all the way over the back line.
Dalton probably known more for his goal scoring than his tackling, but that was an excellent job to get low there.
Columbera. This is Haig. Trigwell working hard to get back in front of him.
It's an interesting tackle there.
Wasn't pretty, was it? Columbera, that was a early flick, an important touch by Dalton. Flicks it out towards Dancer. And Dancy does to try and get around his opponent. Settles on Gilly. He comes into Brook. Brook at right half. And nicely cut off.
Well done by Booth there. A goal scorer in last year's grand final.
6-5, that grand final ended, of course, at the Bunbury Hockey Stadium. Here's Hartley. 2 goals in that game last year. Looking to have a say again, leading his side. And that looks like it'll be a long corner.
Coach Laurie Tyler marshalling the troops as they transferred, and Dancer's got a bit of space here to get his eyes up. Slides one out, gets a deflection, and
Brooks running onto it, but over the line, so we'll bring it back into play. Gilly working hard to get there, knocked away from him cleverly, but he's got time to settle and win the ball back. Flicks one all the way back to Wedderburn. Into Gilly. Little stick fake on Brown. Back to Dancer. Turns it over, so a chance tight to the line on the far side of the stadium for Boynup. This one is over the line, so they'll bring it back into play. Jones it'll be.
Got the second of our Tasanas out there. Couldn't get on the end of that one. Jones will feed it into Booth in the midfield.
Booth flicks one on towards Dalton. Couldn't quite trap. Brown's there. Settling on it now, and nice ball over the top to Columbera in a little bit of space and with some runners through the middle of the ground. He's flicked one over in the direction of Crab, who's back on after his green. Put some pressure on the defender, but
didn't allow him enough time to control it. It was within the 5. The local crowd didn't like it. It's probably could have gone either way, but that's the call.
Wetherill straight inside to Sewell, and another call is going against them.
That'll really compound the issue here.
Wetherill already been important in this one. Out to McGeoch. Straight up the middle. Nice no-look pass by Brook. Flicked on Jones. On towards Fisher. Working his way down that line.
Wins a free hit, Fisher. It'll be Jones to take it outside of the 25. Wests are pressing a long way over here with Columbera pressing all the way across to not let it go across, so Jones takes the aerial route.
This one all the way back to Wetherill, found
Tasana's
himself
got
under
space.
a bit of pressure. Tasana swings one out to Scott. Gilly's going to cut it off, and they've got some runners going forward now. West Gilly into some space. Has Crab.
Great
goes
ball.
towards Columbera instead. Crab working into the D. Columbera wants the backstick side.
Great courage from McGeo there. We know he's carrying an injury, and he's thrown his body at the ball there and was able to put enough pressure on Columbera's shot that he couldn't get it on target. Tasana will be disappointed with himself. He had a lot of time and just couldn't use it.
That's the best look either side have had. And we've got 2.5 minutes left in this first term.
Great
Coming
receive.
back through the middle of the ground again. Boying up. Hartley on towards Harry Gilly. Columbera backtracking. Nicely nicked away from him by McGeoch. Finds himself in a bit of space. Flicks one down the line, and that's going to run all the way to Kyle Tasana. He's going to go right baseline. His brother Jack was working hard to get into the D, but it was knocked away from him.
I think it was Wedderburn. He came in. It was an all-or-nothing tackle, and he ended up coming off well. Goes to Jones at right half. He gives it back to Brown. Brown, little miss trap.
Brown in front of Armstrong. Tries to work his way around him. Armstrong just steadies on it. Flicks one inside to Coates. Coates plays with it for a sec and then finds a foot, so that'll allow his men to flood forward.
Still going with the old-fashioned tactic of kicking it because you don't want to chase it.
Coates again. Getting busy. The youngster knocked off it by Tasana.
McGeo thought it was his.
Armstrong now. Here's Brook. Flicked one on towards the top of the D, but it was all black shirts waiting.
Great ball.
Flicked on towards Kyle Tasana. He won't be the first one there, though. He might have a second crack at it. And was
Third man.
tripped in the end by Price. So Price swings one right across the far side. Just evades Brook. He did well to get a stick to it. But buoying up to bring it back into play now.
Jones has had a lot of it early at that right half position. Goes back to Weatherald.
Scott just forward of halfway. Assesses his options. Bangs one towards the top of the D. Just wanted to touch on it and doesn't get it. So 30 seconds remaining.
I think that's the secret. Weatherald's ball there, across to Scott, skip out the man, and then you can move the ball quicker and shift the defenders.
So a long corner for Boynup. Is there one last roll of the dice in this quarter? Armstrong, backstick clearance. And that'll be a Boynup free hit, I think. But there's just 5 seconds remaining. They need to get it in there quickly. Doesn't look like they'll have time.
Oh.
And that's the first quarter done. So like it was in the women's game before it, 0-0 at the first change. Boynup and West, but this has been a good game of hockey.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's evenly contested, neither side giving an inch. Obviously, they've been 1-1 from the last 2 grand finals. So this is almost for a bit of bragging rights, obviously, and also that silverware. And they're also sides that are both very competitive. They've got competitive players and players who aren't going to give their opposition anything for free.
And after a quarter, have there been some key players emerge for you?
I think Gillies always has an impact. I think he's probably touchy, might just be warming into the game. There's been a couple of little uncharacteristic mistraps, and then Weatherald at the back for buoying up. Just more on the ball than his defensive pressure. Just being able to throw those overheads. Him and McGeer can both throw massive overheads, so that can be really key to get them out the back of the defenders.
Come on, red and black. Come on, you lads.
So the two sides break from that quick quarter time change. 0-0 in this one in the early stage. West probably had the best chance of the first term through Haig Columbera. Nice little play on the break and an effort on the back stick. Just away to the left and possibly a little high as well, but they look dangerous when they run in that part of the ground. So Trigwell to get us started in the second quarter. Crabs knocked it away from him. Free hit Boyne up. Scott works up to take it. Oh, we got it back anyway. So Scott at left half back. Back to McGeoch. Round to Wetherill. Good width here. Bangs one inside.
Fraser Gilly probably thought he earned himself a free hit for it being dangerous, but the umpire saw otherwise.
So Wetherill will duck back and collect that one. 25 plus years for this man at Boyne Up. Incredible longevity.
And he's still having to collect his own ball from the gutter.
Now a Australian over 40s rep as well.
Kasana, he's out.
Here's a chance for Jack. Down in the left corner, that took a touch. Tried to keep it in, did Armstrong, but not to be.
Sewell will take this in, he'll look for a little lead. Overton comes out, perfect.
Scott was there as well, nicely done. Overton works through traffic in the D, earns himself a penalty corner.
That was the lead, the space is left there. Of course, you have to go 5 or pass it before it goes into the D. Overton, short little 2-step lead, gained some separation on his man, and he was able to roll in behind. Defender planted, which he probably had to do, and Overton just able to put it on a foot, and they get their first penalty corner of the game. They scored 3 penalty corners last grand finals, 2 for McGeoch and 1 for Dalton. So let's see what they can do here.
So what do they run with here?
I think it goes to number 1 battery, and it might be a hit from Trigwell.
Let's have a look. Trigwell
Would have been.
was Trigwell, but he just stumbled and had to dish it off. And West are going to come clear now. Columbera.
Switch!
A nice ball out to Hartley. Crab's waiting in the D. Moving forward now are West. Crab under a little bit of pressure because of the mistrap. And cleared. But a nervy moment for Boyne Up nonetheless. Nice. Clearing it from defence pretty quickly are West. They're going to go straight back in as well. Wetherill there.
It was a great tackle there from McGeoch. Planted, got that right hand on the ground. Here's those overheads we were talking about, but
that one might end up working out too, because running onto it is Fisher. Fisher goes baseline. He's got a man inside in Overton. Won't quite get there. Knocked away by Coates.
Oh. A shaky mistrap there. Tasana comes out.
Wanted to get that straight back inside, didn't he? Armstrong was there. Ends up with it now, coming through the middle. Columbera waiting for it, and Wadey had to do. Good work by Armstrong to come and provide a second option. Flick down the line. Wetherill's going to beat him to it. Takes it right down to the corner. Here's Crab. Columbera's gone to ground. Armstrong, this is rather, just bangs one back inside.
Oh, I thought that was probably went 5 for mine. Miles Armstrong asking the umpire to come and step it out, and the umpire saying we don't have time for that, mate. We just got to take the free hit.
So Wetherill goes that overhead once again. Well trapped by Williamson in front of Trigwell. Gilly looking to try and help out. Fisher came in well to help close up the space. Williamson will get it back. Down the line he goes. Crab's starting to get a little busy in his second term.
Good open receive there from Crab. He almost got on the end of it, but McGeoch has been on fire early. We've got time being blown. I think he wants to speak to Tasana about a bit of body work, saying, let's just focus on the ball, son.
So back to Williamson. Time back on. Trigwell stood in his way. Comes back to Williamson. So we just keep crawling our way down this line. He goes towards Crab. Scott's there for Boyne Up.
Cool under pressure there. Scott to just roll and throw it at the left foot. Hardest place to trap it. More often than not, if you throw it at the bloke in front of you's left foot, you'll get a free hit.
Into Tasana. Dalton an option in the middle, but they've turned it over through Hartley. They're going to go forward. Here's Armstrong, had a touch. Vuletich with a clearing kick all the way back to Gilly. Couldn't quite keep that one in front of him. Snicked off to the slips cordon, I think there, Gilly, but he's heard the whistle, so it'll come back anyway.
So the crowd not quite understanding that even though it wasn't an overhead, you still got to give the player 5 yards to control the ball on those dangerous passes. Great tackle there by Tassana.
Working his way through, nicely stolen
Ball
from
will be
him.
brought back.
Williamson brought back.
We saw Tassana there just breaking through, and before he made that turnover trying to get it to the right-hand side, it's sort of a high-risk, high-reward game that he plays. He hits long balls, he takes the game on. Sometimes it doesn't work, but when it does, it looks good and it reaps the dividends.
Wetherill, Hartley was standing in his way in the passing lane. Wetherill nicked it back though, tight to the line, flicks one down towards Fisher, on again to Dalton, has Gilly for company, a couple of boys who go hard at it.
Yeah, Dalton's probably been a bit quieter than he would have hoped and probably quieter than he was last grand final, but hopefully slowly getting his way into the game. It was a great knock-on from Fisher, just a little one-time touch.
So Wetherill pushing up the ground to try and influence here. The baseline pass will be cleared by Wests and all the way to the other end.
McGeoch getting some time to stretch out that quad of his with a little jog back to the 16 as it's fed into Dalton.
Saul has it. Scott an option at left half back.
Saul asking for a bit of presentation from his midfielders. Tassana, Dalton just too far away, but it's a fortunate bounce out to Jones, but he can't get on the end of it.
Coming back inside are Wests. Saul picked that up nicely. Just pushes one back to Wetherill, sits on it for a moment, into Brown.
Right.
Turned his man inside out really nicely and now has a little bit of time to get his head up, go inside. That took another knock and over the line. Be a long corner. Comes back to Saul. It's going to go straight inside and they'll let it run.
Saul's, I think, looking at Fisher saying, get somewhere near that. That ball's gone past the post that Fisher was on and just couldn't get a stick to it, a little touch.
Williamson back to Gilly. Fisher closing in that space.
Tassana goes hard in again.
The umpire will have a close eye on him, flicked over towards Harry Gilly.
Scott just ran into the 5 there. Didn't give Bright enough time.
Coates.
It's the right call. We saw quite clearly here the tackle was lifted above Coates' knee. Dancer on the ball. Let's see what he can make of it.
Has Williamson by his side as an option. He's going to go a little more direct and finds Beckett. Tries to just pull one back into the D. Found a foot. Hartley there. Now what can they manage? Bright inside and it'll be a penalty corner. So the first of the term for Wests.
It's collected Dalton's foot there just inside the D. He'll consider himself a little bit unlucky. He was probably a bit too upright there and meaning the ball could hit his foot. Hartley, we saw it in the girls' game. We've seen it so far. The players that want to take those quick free hits inside the 25, the players that want to go hard, go early, can really catch the defenders off guard, and that's exactly what he's done just then.
So Boynup had their first of the afternoon just a few moments ago. And a chance now for Wests to break the deadlock. Took 3 and a bit quarters in the women's game. Can they get an earlier one on the board? It looks like they're setting up for Dancer here.
Scored a penalty corner in last year's grand final. See what he can do. Just came on too, so fortunate for West that they get a penalty corner with their drag flicker on the ground.
And he's the fresh legs for the next few minutes as well. So it'll be sent in to Price, who traps for Dancer. Never really got that one going. Columbera, and they have the opener. A protest from Boynup, but it looks like the goal will stand. And Kate Columbera has the first of the night.
I don't quite know what to say from up here. It did look like it hit Coates' body or leg to deflect in, but it's 1-0 on the scoreboard, so Boynup need to focus on that. They can't rue that bad decision for any longer. They need to get focused on the game now.
Wetherill That trademark overhead again. Overton can't quite drag it in. So the breakthrough comes with 7 minutes on the clock in the second quarter. Williamson,
here we go.
Short, they're going to turn it over now. Tasana looking to bounce straight back up, Boying up Tasana at the edge of the D, knocked away from him, penalty corner.
Cometh the moment. Cometh Jack Tasana.
Didn't we see it in the women's game where that goal just seemed to spark something for obvious reasons in Associates, and it looked like that was the same there, just a new lease of life a little bit, a second wind for Tasana. Got really busy.
Yeah,
made the defenders work.
Yeah, in finals, neither side wants to concede, but then as soon as someone does, the focus goes on scoring, because you're not going to win a game if you're 1-0 down, which is quite obvious if you ask me. So now Boying Up know that they need to score, and how good was that from Tasana? The little shave tackle, then the breakaway, tried to feed the pass. I thought the reverse shot was on. Let's see what they do from the top.
So Weatherall's come back to the battery, but it looks like it might be Dalton's.
I think it's going to be a card here for Jones. He knocked the ball away. Correct decision.
It is a green card for Jones, and West looking to move it on quickly through Colin Bearer. Has Beckett for company. Cuts inside. Weatherall might cover this off. They'll get a free hit.
Kyle Jones probably still young, still learning that key times you don't want a card like that. And he did knock the ball away. Dancer on it. He'll look to go straight in. That's what he does.
As he does. A nice call. And nearly took a handy deflection.
He's on it again, and he goes quick. This is what we saw before from Hartley.
Weatherall doing the defending into Coates. And another penalty corner. So they were fruitful for West just a minute ago. And they're going to have to try and keep another one out.
You see that Dancer, probably by his own admission, he's probably not the quickest player anymore, but he's smart enough to realise he had the space, he had 10 yards, so he can run 5 yards before getting tackled and then just slip it in, and that's exactly what he did. Get your 5 yards quickly, just like Hartley did before when they won the short corner, and it could be 2 goals from 2 really smart plays from inside the 25.
So Williamson to feed. You wouldn't have thought they'd stray from the usual here, would you?
I can't imagine. If it ain't broke.
So Williamson holds over at a moment. Dancer wanted to flick. They'll get a long corner out of it.
Dancer, whilst he's getting older in years, he scored plenty of goals for the Thundersticks. He scored a goal when the Thundersticks won the AHL all the way back in 2008. So I think he's probably experienced enough.
That's an incredible ball to Beckett in the corner. Beckett looking to go inside. Nearly cleared, but straight back to Beckett, who flicked one into Saul, who took it to the body.
Beckett saying that's a shot. The umpire saying there's about 15 guys between the ball and the goal, mate.
I wouldn't argue with Beckett, though.
No, I would have given the short corner.
Flicked into Dalton.
He's away here, Dalton.
And now he could be away. Tasana's there. He was the target. Cut off by Gilly. Did well in the end. Not his best ball. Trigwell flicked it off to Tasana nicely. They're going back inside. Comes around the baseline, flicks one back, and there's Gilly standing in his way once more.
Well done by Trigwell to get down low. I tell you what, Trigwell, he's one of the older players on the field, but he covers a lot of space and always closes down his defender, especially putting that left hand on the ground and making those little touches.
Williamson. Tasana trying to hold him up. Williamson gets the decision, so flicks one on to Hartley, turned in his opponent inside out. Now he's got some space to move into. Coates was in a good bit of real estate inside. He didn't use him, but they're just going to keep working their way down this line. Here is Dancer, just outside the attacking 25 towards the top of the D. Another chance now for West. Vuletic keeps it out nicely. Armstrong out towards the edge of the D. He's chasing it. Cleared nicely. Only as far as Gilly, though.
Go wide.
Eventually he pulls the trigger on the lateral ball to Brooke.
Give it.
Coming all the way back. Fired back inside to Gilly, straight up the middle.
It's a good tackle by Weatherall.
Comes out to Dancer. He's got Crab peeling off. Took a foot.
How good's that from Dancer? We see Jones back on after the card.
Come on.
Probably a stern talking to from his coach as well.
Crab presenting short. Gilly, the more conservative option. Swung around to Williamson, who I'm not sure thought it was coming to him. Just caught out by his mate there. Wedderburn up to Coates. Chasing it out towards the line. Has Weatherall for company and worked around him with ease in the end. A player in Armstrong in the circle. Crab was there but knocked away again. Vuletic having a fair say in this one. They are 1-0 down. Nicely done by Brook to get around his man. Found himself in a bit of space. Armstrong it is again, running baseline. Coates just juggled it along. And that one is also in the gutter.
And you're right there. Vuletic can consider himself probably the most unlucky bloke out there. The goal, a deflection that you're never going to save, and apart from that, he's been faultless.
So some more time on ball for Boyna. Weatherall. Final minute of this second term. We're approaching half time. Scott. Nicely done by Tassana. Ended up losing it to Gilly. Gilly tight to the line. Came inside. That's a beautiful ball to open things up to Colin Bear. It took heavy contact from McGeoch. Flicks another one onto Armstrong, who's been busy on this left wing.
I think we'll see a card here.
And that looks to be the case.
McGeoch asking why, but the camera will say from this angle probably didn't have a chance to get the ball and threw his body at it, as we see that. Another one of those sliders, those slide passes. We saw Dancer do one early. So dangerous. It looks like they're going to slap it to the left, slide it off the stick, and it flicks out to the right. And that was one of the better ones we've seen there from Ben Payne.
Weatherall on it again. 7 seconds to go, so it'll be all she wrote as far as the first half is concerned, and I think both sides know that. So they'll come off for a break. Wests break the deadlock in that second term. They lead the grand final 1-0. They are in the box seat in front of a packed home crowd at the Busselton Hockey Stadium.
We see a bit of a emotion from the two inside forwards from Boyup, Dalton and Tassana. A bit disappointed with how this game starts. These Boyup boys, they really want this. They know they're coming in as underdogs. They know that last year they probably had their chances. They were probably a bit unlucky last year, but they really want it today. So they need to regroup, and it's probably a really good time for this 5 minutes to come. They know that they had some good play there in that quarter, so they can take a bit of confidence, and they need to focus on the things they've done right.
So we'll also take a short break, and we'll be back with the second half from the grand final right after this.
All right, I'm joined here by newly crowned premiership player and best on ground, Elise. How are you feeling after the big win?
Pretty excited, relieved, happy.
Yeah, obviously you guys were the best team all year. You talked a bit about that relief. How exciting is it that you've sort of led the comp all year and were able to get the win?
I think it's more a case of like the work rate. So we have Beats as our coach, and he just led from the front, keeping us accountable, training, and he had his message like work the hardest, want it the most, reap the rewards, and that's been our key driver. And he's said it every single week, and it's really stuck. And
speaking of working the hardest, yourself, you were really bringing the intensity in that first quarter in the midfield, really leading your team, getting plenty of circle entries. What was sort of the attitude you came with to today's game? Did you really want to take it on from the start?
Every contest is my contest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've been sort of ingrained in you for a long time? Is that something you've been reminding yourself of?
I'm a big believer in having a game plan of something you want to improve or you want to work on every day. So you don't always achieve that goal, but if you don't go looking for a goal, then you've got nothing to work towards.
And there was a midfield contest between you and Gibbons. Has that been a contest that's been going all year? And yeah, can you speak to her game a little bit?
Tani is amazing to play against and to play with. I've been lucky to play with her at strikers level, and just such a competitor. I can't speak highly enough of her tenacity and her work rate. So just a great challenge.
And we saw you and a couple of young strikers in the back half of the game really working together. How exciting is it to have the young talented players coming through?
Oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier for the old legs when the young legs can carry you. So when you can put it into space and they can have that great work ethic and workload, it's just creates that team atmosphere and team environment. So yeah. And
obviously Mike's out here at the moment, hoping to have 2 flags hanging on the mantelpiece by the end of the day. How are you finding this game so far?
From what I have seen so far, West, they've led the competition this year and they're really showing it. But, buoying up really, really tough, really strong, and never say die. So they had a come from behind win last year, and, the game's not over. So let's wait and see what they can pull out.
Awesome. Elise, thanks very much for your time and well played today. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So we continue with the third quarter action. West building up the play. Gets thrown to Jones. He receives it. He wasn't given 5. Throws it into the midfield to Brown. Booth on the end of it. It was lifted up into his body. He wants to go quickly. Turns, rolls, lifts it in the air, and it's a great tackle in the end. West get the ball back.
So a break now for West. Columbera. Turns nicely inside. Trigwell tried to strip him of it. Flicked out to Price, and they can go down the left-hand side. Only momentarily they'll be halted because that one crosses over.
It's what we talked about, the nerves that final spring. Price lost control on the trap. He had plenty of time to settle, but he just compounded the issue, and it ends up going out over the sideline.
Jones, that's hit the foot of Price, so a lucky break for Boyne up. Tasana looking to take it on, finds Booth. Overton was his man inside. Another free hit, so they're just building here. Get the feeling something's looming here for Boyne up. Trigwell. Booth trying to get busy in the circle. Settle on a pass to Scott. He's going to send it straight back in. And a penalty corner.
You don't see Fraser Gilly mistrap too many. That one collected his foot. I think it sort of surprised everyone. Usually you see those wild hits from outside come in and they get picked off pretty easily. So I think it probably surprised Gilly that it made it that deep into the D, and he'll be disappointed with that. And obviously Boyne up again, have a shot from the top. It looks like they're going the old-fashioned Weatherald and Trigwell at the top, going with the hit.
I don't stray too far from it, do they? So another opportunity for Boyup. They find themselves a goal down in the grand final, but their penalty corner specialists stand over this one. Here's Weatherall.
In any other time, that would have been a great goal from Weatherall, but unfortunately, not now as Gilly throws a monster overhead out to Beckett.
Nicely taken by Beckett too, and he's got a man in Armstrong drifting off right to the corner. Coates working hard to get in there. Vuletic just lifted it with the kick to Tasana. Just holds it up long enough to calm things down, then gets the decision onto Trigwell. Wants to spread it nice and quickly. Hit it nicely to the backstick side of Hartley, so it slips all the way through to Overton. He had it knocked away from him by Price.
Trigwell playing a little bit deeper at the moment. It looks like he might have gone back into sort of a centre-half position while Mike Sewell is off. Mike Sewell also has a jacket on, so might be one to watch whether or not that's an injury or Mike's just getting a bit cold down in Bustleton.
He did take a knock to the body at a circle entry late in that second quarter, so whether that has something to do with it, I don't know, but we will keep an eye on that. As Boyne up, swing it all the way out to Scott at left half, and it crosses over the line. How good's the respect from Sewell for Gibbons? We were so fascinated by their battle in that women's game, and to hear her speak so highly of the player that she's obviously played against for a while and plays directly on, 5 times this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of connections, as she mentioned, the old Southwest strikers that used to play up in the Premier League. A lot of the better players in these competitions, especially the older players, have played together for a long time. But it was great of Elise Sewell to give us a bit of her time and give us a bit of an insight as to Sana finds Weatherald.
Pass, isn't it, to Weatherald, just to cut it out. Here's Jones. Flicks one down the baseline. Colin Bearer waiting, and that'll be a long.
To Sana, the old no-look pass, similar to some of the ones we've seen from Brent Dancer today. I'll tell you what, if you want to be a good player, Brent Dancer's a pretty good one to follow.
We spoke early in this game about skipping the man on that switch, and that's exactly what he did there. You cut out an extra defender and you find yourself into some space.
Exactly. A couple of minutes ago they did a switch and they went to every man around the back four, and by the time it got to Scott, the ball had moved too slowly for him to actually do anything with it. So skipping the man can often catch the defensive group off guard.
Jones in towards Brown. And the mistrap, so taken back to the 16 for Wests with Gilly. Couple of options to play it out to the fat side, but he's going to come skinny, goes to Price. Down the line, cut off by McGeoch, who's back on after his green. A bit of push and shove between him and Colin Bearer. McGeoch runs off it. Colin Bearer is going to turn it over. Nicely cut off by Scott. Flicks one on towards Trigwell. He took heavy contact from Coates. Doesn't look like there was much malice in it anyway. He's going to keep moving with it. Here's Dalton. Here's one that will probably start having more of an influence in the middle of the park this afternoon. Cut off by Crab it was there. A Payne rather. Williamson just steadies on it.
Though they're down on the scoreboard, Boyne up, I think they've probably had the better of the play since that goal was conceded, especially at the start of this term. They've come out with some real intent and are controlling the game better than West have.
Jones down to Overton. Nice backstick trap, tight to the line. There's a couple, that's a nice little flick back inside. No one there waiting for it, but clearance only as far as Jones. And that decision has gone West's way.
Don't quite know what that would have been for. Dalton was appealing that it might have been dangerous as it came across. I didn't think it was dangerous, but I don't know where the umpire found a free hit to West there. But Gilly will be on the ball, which is always dangerous for Boyne Up. Gilly, very creative, and we saw him throw a big overhead before. Let's see what he can do.
Here is Gilly into Hartley. So their big names combined. Gilly back into Payne. Payne just left that behind for Tassana in a dangerous area. And it's allowed to run through. Not his finest ball. They probably should have made something out of that.
It was 3 on the keeper there, and Tassana missed the pass. But
Hartley onto Columbera. McGeoch comes across to close him down. We saw those two come together a few moments ago.
Yeah, disappointed, but it's a fair few people in front of that, and I can't see a thing.
Columbera has Hartley waiting for him. Turn it over to Dalton. He's had a couple of good minutes. There's Brooke.
Yeah, definitely after the quiet start, Dalton might have been given a rev up or a bit of encouragement. Kyle Jones got plenty of time on it, and he throws a quite big overhead, but it's poorly directed.
Price cuts it off. Scott's there waiting for the deflection into Brown in midfield.
He can give it to Tassana here.
And into some space too. He releases him down the left-hand side. Dalton's one that can work inside here and be an option. Tassana's
getting a bit of feedback from the West boys. They know how dangerous that reverse stick can be. Tassana's put a few of those away.
And Mike Sewell back out there as well. So, of course, he was in a tracksuit after half-time. He looks good to go.
Tassana brothers picking that one off, and they're away.
Jack's worked back into the D, and he just fluffed his lines.
He'll be disappointed with that, Jack. Tried to one time. It's a very difficult thing to do with the keeper closing. I think if he had his time again, he probably would have trapped it. But Boyne Up really building something here as Gilly throws an overhead out to Coates, who misses it. Weatherald picks it up.
So he's got Scott peeling off for a defensive option, but he's going to flick one down the line to no avail. Couple of big moments for Tassana in the last few minutes, and you sense that there will be more coming.
And Dalton as well. The two we said were quite emotional at half-time. We're sort of coming to terms with being down and out. The two inside forwards, they've really lifted since being talked to by the coach, Laurie Tyler.
Yeah, Dalton's really lifted in this second half. Dancer getting involved. Scott to collect and bring it back into play.
And how good is it to see a former Kookaburra down in the Southwest Hockey League? It's amazing for all the kids out here to watch someone who's played at the international stage.
So no press on here because Coates slipped, so a little bit of time to settle from McGeoch and dish one off to Weatherall down the line. Moving through nicely was Wedderburn. Columbera has a runner in Bright, uses him, but it's picked off really nicely by Scott.
Fisher and Tassana.
Here's Kyle Tassana. Nice little lift to get away from a teammate. Finds Jack. He's going to break inside the circle.
Oh, that could be a stroke. It is a stroke.
It is a stroke.
It is a stroke.
And Tassana's let him know about it too.
Tassana could get a card here, but it is definitely a stroke. Dancer coming in.
So their best chance yet to level proceedings. They're just going to talk it out for a sec. The umpire's going to pull one or two aside, I'd suggest.
Looks like Tassana
will come off.
Getting a yellow, which is somewhere between 5 and 10. Umpire hasn't signalled how long, so I'm guessing it's 5. But it's exciting for Boyne Up because they're going to take the stroke. They should get it back to 1-1. You would think that they would put this in. It's Dalton.
Braden Dalton. So the man who we said has lifted immensely in the first 10 minutes of this second half is going to step up to the spot and take on the responsibility here.
Dalton v Coates, for all those wondering at home why that is a stroke, saying it's not going in on goal. So a stroke can be any deliberate foul inside the D, and if it touches your body and you choose to go down on the field of play, you'd usually get a yellow card, but because it's inside the D, gets awarded as a stroke and the player doesn't get the card.
Here's a buoying up lifer, Braden Dalton, to level proceedings in the grand final, face to face with Coates, and he finds the bottom corner.
They're back.
Buoying up Wests, 1-1, 5.5 to play
And
in the third term.
And you can imagine not only will there be feeling because it's now 1-1, there'll also be a bit of feeling into this game because of the carry-on with Jack Tassana after the goal was scored.
Dancer swings it wide. Brought all the way back to Wedderburn at fullback. Into Dancer. Closed down, but got one off to Brook. Into Coates. Coates has been really busy tonight. He's worked hard. Liked him in that role coming back up through the middle. Brook. That one's cut off by Jones. Sewell's in there as well.
Great tackle by Sewell to put it on and ends up hitting Jones's foot. Could it be, now that Buoying Up are back in the game, we're daring to dream, could it be a big day for the Sewell family?
Of course, 11 goals last time these two met in a grand final. Just the two so far. Feel like there's more in it though. Dalton has cleaned up Dancer.
Dancer went down hard there, but he's got straight back up.
Brook. Short to Crab. Hartley. Jones has lost a stick. Hartley going into the circle.
Great tackle by Weatherall.
Really nice tackle. Flicked on by McGeoch. Trigwell's taken out from behind. Thought there might have been a bit more to that, but just the free hit.
I think Buoying Up are probably saying, well, if you're going to blow your whistle loud, and there's already been cards so far, maybe give a card as well.
So at the defensive 25, Weatherall into Dalton. Flicks one out to Jones. Not much on offer down the line.
How good's that skill from Fraser Gilly just to find the foot. Tassana planting. Gets it to Dancer. He's got a bit of space, but he holds it up.
In that true centre half position. Price looks to draw a man. Hits down the line. Flicked on again. Dalton beaten cleverly by Hartley. Beckett was at the hot spot. Couldn't find him. Settle on one back to Price. He's going to send them back in with a big slap. Here's Coates. Just slipped as he collected that one. And to his detriment as well. Couldn't quite get an effort off on goal. Weatherall, Trigwell. Two experienced heads in this Buoying Up side. Link up. Trigwell just toys with his man Williamson for a second. Running back through the middle of the ground. Put Bright on his backside. Still has it. Little one-hand control there. Flicked one off towards Fisher. He goes back to Scott. So Buoying Up, you get the feeling just looking to try and control this game for a few moments here. Now that they're 1-1. Weatherall and Sewell share it between each other. Flicks it on to Dalton. Scott.
And that's their game style too, Buoying Up. They build up the play. They've got lots of talented players who are good passers and solid receivers around the back. So they continue to just build it up. And this is what they did last grand final. Obviously they weren't the victors on that day, but they do control the play very well.
Dalton. Nice ball towards Scott. Dances there. It's Ben Scott, of course, so he's come on, I think, for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Ben Scott hasn't spent a lot of time on the ground, but that was a nice little drag. He had some good strength on the ball and broke away, but unfortunately couldn't do anything with it as Dancer finds an excellent pass to the right-hand side.
It's a really nice ball. Just to open things up a little bit, cleverly knocked away from Columbera by Weatherall. West to bring it back into play through Columbera. Dancer just waiting for it there. Columbera a little more direct. Well trapped by Sewell. On to Trigwell. Has a runner inside in Fisher. Doesn't use him just yet.
It's a good ball by Tassana, popping it into space for Sewell.
Sewell.
Fisher to pressure.
All West on the defensive side of things. Gilly played with him for a second and then rolls and opens up things in the middle of the ground. Price just stumbled on it a sec. Payne gives it back to him. Right on halfway. Far side of Busselton Hockey Stadium. That's a wasted ball down the line. Collected by Wetherill.
We say it's wasted, but Wetherill, as the free man, has been playing as that spare and has been able to collect those balls all the time. They're only wasted because he's there and he's always in the right position as Hartley receives and Dalton falls over, and it's all a bit comical as Tassana's back on the field and they've picked him away.
So a boost for Boyne with Tassana back. He nearly slipped as well in that part of the ground. Little no-looker to Fisher, who breaks halfway, gets his head up, wants Kyle Tassana in the corner and won't quite find him.
Maybe on the grass that would have slowed down enough for Tassana, but we are on turf, as we have been for the last 20 years in hockey, maybe even longer.
Gilly throws one. And that's three-quarter time. So the story of that quarter is the stroke and the card. The stroke levels things up at 1-1. Quarter to go. And we're deadlocked.
Yeah, West were able to work themselves back into that game as Boyne were down to 10. Tassana, him winning the stroke, and then probably just a lapse in concentration. There'd been a few words between the two sides, and he decided to rub it in and had to pay the price, but the stroke was excellently done, well converted by Dalton, who's worked himself back into the game, and it's shaping up to be a very exciting last quarter. Plenty of yellow and black here, plenty of associates people here, and a few
probably
West
don't care.
who are just here for the bar.
Beers.
Yeah, and then plenty of West people who are yelling in our ears, but it's lovely to have them here.
So who now? 17 and a half minutes of hockey to play. We've spoken about a couple of the big names. We've spoken a lot about Dancer. We've spoken a lot about Tassana, who's just come back on. Gilly, of course, manning things at the back for Wests. Who is it that breaks open this grand final? And I asked you the same question at three-quarter time in the first game, and the big names stepped up. So who is it in this final term here?
I think that it needs to come from the forwards of Boyne Up. I think it's really all in the hands of Boyne Up. West are pretty much playing, I think, to their ability. I think that the positive will be if Kyle Tassana can get into the game and get some connections with Dalton and his brother Jack. But also, I think that Boyne Up, if they can hold the defence with Wetherill and McGeoch, if there's one mistake, that could change the game and be a goal. But so far, they're holding strong. They're under a lot of pressure. But if they can hold strong, I don't see a way that West can score. Because Wetherill as that free man and McGeoch making those tackles outside of the D, and Vuletic, who is on fire despite the unlucky goal at the start.
So we speak a lot about, in other sports, the free man. But where does the free man come from?
So there's the two fullbacks. One will always be marking and one will be free. And then the centre forward's role in the press will be to take. So we see Brown now. He's taking both of the fullbacks, meaning that because he's got two men, one of his teammates will have one and the other will be free. So that's where it comes from. So the two fullbacks, they will take the centre forward and vice versa, and then the other will always be free.
So Price to bring it back in for West. Nicely trapped by Overton. Trigwell.
Probably a bit too quick for his teammate, but
Gilly,
Fisher's
that's
away.
a nice ball into Fisher. Trigwell's there as well.
Oh.
Chance maybe for Boyne Up, not quite to be. Defended in the end. Williamson.
So there's an alternate universe where that doesn't hit Trigwell's foot and it spills to Tassana on the outside, who puts a Tommer in the roof, 2-1. And I reckon that happens 99 times out of 100.
Well done by Williamson nonetheless to stop that happening. And a sigh of relief from the West faithful at Busselton. Gilly, big slap in towards Williamson. It was knocked away from him. And I think that might have been a Boyne Up stick too, so a nice little bit of ground.
So they weren't set early enough there. Wetherill wasn't set early enough. He had to come to Columbera, and because he was on the move, he couldn't make that trap. McGeoch doesn't look 5 to me, but it doesn't matter what I think.
Brought back in by
Great
Williamson
tackle by Dalton.
to Payne. Dalton did really well, got low in the tackle.
Yeah, so because he tackled and then it went through the West player's legs, it's obstruction because Dalton can't get to the ball. There's those big overheads we've been talking about, but who's there?
Looking for Tassana. Might spill to Fisher. Nearly got a stick in there. Williamson. Now they swing it round the back again. Wedderburn. Gilly. Now to Bright on the far side, who's been pretty quiet, particularly after halftime. They just settle on it a little bit now, Wes. Here's Price. Nice little trap. In towards Crab. He's been in just about everything this afternoon from a playing standpoint and a physical standpoint. He's worked all the way into the circle, knocked away by Vuletic.
And we've said it a lot today. It came from the skip pass across, the pass that cut out the man, and Price was able to have a bit of space and feed it down the line. Let's see what Dancer can do at the top here.
Dancer. Payne. Wanted Dancer again, and a nice little deflection into the circle, into a dangerous spot. Doesn't quite work for them. Still in possession though. And Columbera wins a free hit. I think he might have been a little fortuitous.
I think both of the Columberas are going after McGeoch a little bit. There might be a bit of history there.
Dancer, Gilly into the circle.
So there those touches. Yeah, Dancer's done it again. Comes from Gilly. Gilly fires it, and Dancer's trying to get the deflection because Weatherall sets up on the straight line, right? And the deflection changes the angle and it cuts out Weatherall, just like that.
Clever again from Dancer, and they're in. Vuletic, another clearing save. Gets them 25 of territory as well. Less than 14 minutes to play. In towards Crab in the corner. Tries to skip around McGeoch. Dalton's there. Crab pinches it back.
Tackle by Weatherall. Dalton deciding he'll tell West where to play the ball from.
Back to Price. Skips around to Sana. Just flicked one on towards Crab. Couple on the ground, including Tassana. Williamson looks hurt here.
This is where the chaos begins. Desperate times. Everyone
Price it is rather, so the left half for West has just taken a knock to the hand. Looks in a bit of strife, so we'll follow that. Dancer.
He's going to whack this in, Dancer. The old-fashioned slap.
Goes straight in, took a touch from Dalton. Mopped up nicely by Boynup. Trying to make hay on the far side was Booth.
They're out here.
Here's Bright. Holds it up, wants to come inside, has to flick it away from his man. Booth came back and worked hard to get a touch in there. Nice backstick pass to Price, who looks okay with that hand. Here's Hartley. Ducks back around his man. It's Kyle Tassana. Nice little flick too to release his man in Wedderburn on the far side. Halted in his trap by Booth and then flicked the ball away. One to watch. Nothing doing, says the umpire.
Yeah, the umpires are under pressure. The players are under pressure. You might be too soon, Jackson, because there's been some chips delivered to the table, so you might be commentating by yourself while I'll polish those off.
So Boynup, swing it around the back. Weatherall in front of Beckett. Comes to press him. Back to McGeoch. True fullback position. And the two of them share it between each other again. Comes all the way to Vuletic like a soccer goalkeeper. Just feeds one back into his centre back.
Vuletic was less than enthusiastic to have to do some work there.
It's good to see the energy brought into this contest. Here's Weatherall. Dalton stopped again by Wedderburn. Into Hartley. Pressed by Tassana. Flicks one over to Dancer in some space here too, and now they could be out on the far side, not quite. Bright has to settle on a ball. Back to Williamson. Gilly has it. Backstick trap, wants to go down the line with the slap. It's a good ball too to Hartley. He's got Beckett sitting in the corner, comes inside. Nice challenge by Trigwell.
Another one there. Gilly had his left half on, but he skips him, goes to Hartley, takes the other man out of the play.
Straight back in by Wedderburn towards Columbera. Whistle on it. It's going West way. Beckett's going to take the advantage and go.
Well done by Tassana. But it's a great tackle. Tell you what, that tackle, it's might be a bit of luck from Wedderburn, but it was a great tackle. Sticking that left hand out and making that tackle.
We've gone up a gear, haven't we? Brown was in there for Boynup. Dancer just back pedals, flings one inside. Looked like that had come loose for half a chance. Jones picks it up. Defensive baseline, just wins them a little bit of ground. Throws one over the top to Booth. It's a nice ball too. Traps it nicely. Got a few defenders to contend with.
Well done, Booth. You can keep going.
Did it really well. Held it up. Takes the advantage. Not paid, so brought back to Brown. But promising from Boynup.
Just could slow it down here, Boynup.
Booth starting to have an impact in this game. It was a lazy-looking ball by Brown. Less than 10 minutes to go now.
Here we go.
Armstrong out to Beckett. Armstrong working a little further forward. Beckett with a little dummy. Kyle Tasana. Beckett for company. And he's going to win himself the free hit. So Jones will take it. Right half. Flicks one over the top. Gilly stuck a stick out at it. It evaded both him and Booth and runs over the line.
Booth probably was just waiting to see what the defenders were going to do with that overhead, whether they were going to trap it. He needed to keep running so that he could get on the other side of it and receive it going into the day.
Gilly. Short to Booth. Left half. Foot race with Dalton. Turns him inside out. Dalton getting nice and low once more. Booth still, Brook rather, still in possession. Working his way down that line. Flicked inside and missed by Crabb. It comes loose to Trigwell. Trigwell running through the middle. Nice touch. Important one by Crabb. Hartley. Crabb's going to get it back in some space. Bright's peeling off towards the corner to be an option. Coates is inside. Still with Crabb. Here's Bright. Crabb again. Touch inside. Chance for West wide.
Oh, my word. Jason Vuletic, we spoke to Laurie Tyler before the game and said he is a man in form, and that save is ridiculous this late in the last quarter of a grand final.
Brook, Hartley, Vuletic comes steaming out. What's the verdict here? Penalty corner.
Just come off McGeoch's right foot. Vuletic came out there, charged along the baseline. I think maybe a bit of the adrenaline had gone to his head there from the last save. It was an interesting decision because if that doesn't hit McGeoch's foot, there's West players waiting on the spot to put that in the back of the net. But it's okay. They've got a short corner. It'll be Dancer to take it again. And I think Vuletic will back himself. He'll be a man full of confidence.
The first short corner of the last quarter. Less than 8 minutes to play in the grand final. We're locked up at 1 apiece. It'll be Hartley to send it in. Club legend. Standing at the top is Dancer, an Australian hockey legend. Vuletic, that might be some time-wasting tactics. Just hold them up a little bit. Some gamesmanship from the Boynup keeper. Comes in. Dancer had to work away around Booth. Comes loose in the circle. Quick snap hit on goal and it's in. No.
There's a few people at home that might have had a heart attack there, Jackson. Just missed the far-sided. It was a bit of an optical illusion from where we were standing.
I thought that had been buried by Columbera. Wetherill, Dalton, on to Booth. Missed it. Dancer, the composure through the middle is brilliant. Armstrong, clever ball to Crabb. Crabb goes to ground, getting in his way was Scott, and it's another penalty corner.
I think, from my perspective, we love our umpires. I think Scott was trying to get the ball and just was a little bit clumsy. Maybe it's the right decision, but if this goes in, I think Scott will be considering himself a little bit unlucky. But just then, West were out. And I tell you what, how good has Crabb been? This last 5 minutes, he's been on fire and has brought some real intensity that we hadn't really seen much of him throughout the rest of the game, but he's been on fire here.
I felt early probably engaged in a little bit of the argy-bargy and it almost took him out of the contest a little bit, but he's worked his way back into this one really nicely. He's been just about their most dangerous player, certainly in the forward half anyway. Hartley. Armstrong this time, a change-up, it's wide.
You can see why Armstrong scored a few goals this year because he has just hit the cover off that ball.
If there wasn't a back fence, that'd be it.
That is somewhere past Bovill Park.
Wetherill. Brook. Trigwell. Little dinky sort of a hit inside. Hartley. Turn Jones inside out with ease, then plays a ball inside. Going inside again. Armstrong. Chance for West. Vuletic, incredible.
Tell you what.
He was parallel.
Vuletic is Superman. He's Vuletic and Superman. Never seen him in the same room.
Never
that was
seen him
incredible.
on the same hockey field.
I certainly haven't.
That was an incredible save.
That's 2 right-hand stick saves, the hardest save to do, and he's done 2 in the last 3 minutes.
5 minutes to play. He's keeping them in this game. Trying to send it back in again, but it was well trapped by McGeoch and then just thrown for the benefit of territory.
If you're Armstrong and you lose tonight, you'd be going to sleep considering yourself very unlucky, because he should have a grand final brace and Vuletic has denied him twice.
Williamson. He's had a big say in this one. Does Fraser Gilly work into the final minutes here?
Unlucky there from Fisher, but it was good to tackle him.
4.5 to go now. Williamson slaps
ball.
it on. Armstrong again. He looks the busiest man on the ground now, doesn't he?
McGeoch playing through pain. He's obviously had that quad injury during the week, and he's saying right now, I'm not playing through all this pain to lose. I'm making sure we run away with a win here.
Dalton bringing a bit more, McGeoch rather, bringing a bit more energy to this contest. Tries to flick one on towards
Well
Trigwell.
done. Dalton's
Here is
out.
Dalton.
Overton's away here if he can find him.
Overton
Finds Trigwell instead.
Found some space. Dalton working hard to get in front of it
There's
here.
Overton.
Pass comes into Overton. Dalton works his way into the circle. Booth getting in there as well. Cut off. Loose ball. Dalton!
What a goal!
He's hit the roof!
Braden Dalton, take a bow. What a goal. That is a ridiculous finish from Braden Dalton. We said he was quiet early. Who cares? He can be as quiet as he wants if he's going to put that away and put his side up with 3.5 minutes to go in the grand final.
Just wasn't killed by West when it went into the circle, and they trail by a goal. 3.5 minutes to go. Don't count them out. We've seen some pretty special things between these two sides in grand finals. Here's Sewell into Brown. Brown flicks one on to Overton. He's got Fisher there in support. Uses him in the end. Hartley pressing. Fisher down the line. And that's not the worst result in the end, I wouldn't have thought.
They're going to press him here. Try and make sure it doesn't come out. Comes out to the right-hand side. West faithful are getting a little bit up and about. They thought their team had it until just a few minutes ago.
So Gilly sends them forward with an overhead. Standing under it really nicely was McGeoch. Brought it in really well under his control. Brown, Overton, cuts inside past Price. Coming back to nab it off him was Armstrong. And now Brown, and he says, let's just slow this down for a second. Fisher can break the 25 now. Sends one down to the corner, not his best ball. Booth can't get there. Price and Booth run into each other, completely incidental.
Just seen a trolley of more beer being brought in from the Busselton Hockey Association, so obviously a big night planned.
Gilly swings one right round the back. Try and make something happen down the right. Hartley knocked off it by Tassana, who's been quiet in this final term. Jack. Now they're going to come back around through Fraser Gilly, so trying to stretch this buoyant up zone now. Here's Price down the left, cuts inside nicely. Trigwell did really well. Comes loose to Overton. He steadies, dishes it off to Trigwell. Less than 2 minutes to go now. Buoyant up, get the decision. Brown's been really composed here. Once again, he says, let's just slow this up.
Dancer there, disappointed with the decision, but you see someone who's played at the international level, no time to argue with an umpire, get back, get your 5, and get the next contest, and there he goes, he wins the ball.
Dancer cut off by Trigwell, flicked one onto Booth, working inside now is Tassana. Booth tried to go around the outside of Wedderburn. Not allowed to play the advantage, but that'll eat some precious time off the clock, which reads 1:15 and Boyne up by 1. Scores 2-1. A Braden Dalton stunner separates the two sides. Knocked out of play by Price.
Haven't beat them all year. A minute left. Let's see if they can here.
Brown getting nice and low in the tackle is Price. Fisher put his head down in the contest.
Got to go quick here, Price.
52 seconds to go. Price comes inside. It takes a deflection. It's going to open up for Crab on the far side. Working into the circle is Hartley. Crab goes to ground, gets the decision. 40 seconds to go. It'll come back to Crab. They need to hurry it up here. Going nice and direct, takes a touch and over the back line.
And it is.
Short corner. We're going to finish the grand final with a penalty corner to decide it.
Weatherald and the Boyne Up players saying, what else did you want me to do? The ball's coming at my head. I've hit it to fine leg for 4, but unfortunately it's a short corner for the Boyne Up players. Let's see how it plays out. We'll have Dancer at the top, a long, storied hockey career. He played for the Kookaburras. His father coached the Kookaburras. Dancer name synonymous with Australian hockey. And can he give Busselton West's hockey another piece of history tonight and take this game to extra time?
Will the flag stay in Busselton, or is it heading back up the highway? An hour of hockey and it comes down to one set piece.
You love to see it, don't you, Jackson?
Dancer and Gilly standing over it. A moment of pause.
Stadium holds its breath.
Ball comes in. It'll be Dancer with the drag. Flickers knocked away and Boyd up at Premiers.
It looked like a foot.
It has. They'll have another go. Gone the early crow.
So the injector here. So this should be. So the injector shouldn't be allowed to go and talk to the battery at the top. And the injector has. So for mine, the injector should be sent back to halfway.
So another look at it. Do they give them something different to contend with?
Gilly sitting off the left-hand side of the battery.
He'd be the other option, wouldn't he?
I would say so. Nice slap or push into the bottom corner.
Can they save the grand final? Can they take it to extra time? Dead answer again. Drag flick. Knocked away.
Looked like another short corner to me.
A trio of penalty corners to decide the grand final.
And isn't this is one of the greatest parts of hockey. I think the penalty corner after the siren, that we play them out, it's got to go to either a free hit or the ball to go outside the dotted 5. And I love this part of hockey. And so often we see it. You play for 60 minutes or 68 minutes in this game's case, and it comes down to the last push, trap, and flick.
One more look, potentially. Do they give them something different this time, or is it Dancer again? In the hands of their hockey legend. It's Dancer again, drag flick, knocked wide.
Looks like a corner again.
It's going to be another one, I think.
Umpire calling a short.
I think that
looks
might
like
be
it's a stick, and they're celebrating.
So Boyne Up are the premiers. They had to see out 3 penalty corners in the most dramatic of finals. 2-1. One of the all-time grand final goals from Braden Dalton separates the two sides. And after a year of being in Busselton, the Southwest Hockey League Premiership is back to Boyne Up.
Yeah, they were heartbroken last year, Boyne Up. This year, West had the better of them throughout the day, but I think it's probably the right winner on the day. I think Boyne Up were the best team on the day. There's one thing I know for sure. It's that Braden Dalton will be listening to this commentary a lot tonight as he re-watches that replay, skips back 15 seconds and sees that ball go on the roof again.
We've given him some big raps, haven't we?
Haven't we?
But to be fair, at half-time, we sort of penciled him in as someone who had to lift. You called it really well. He looked really emotional at the break coming off, and it was him that brought the boost inside forward in the second half, and then that goal was something pretty special. It probably maybe could have been killed at the back, but it came loose, and it's just that opportunistic sort of stuff that it's really explosive and in the moment players like him strive on, and it was a brilliant finish. Yeah,
a little peel behind the camera here. I've spent a couple of trainings with Boyne Up, and Jack Tassana and Braden Dalton stay for about half an hour every training and have competitions who can put Thomas in the roof. Jack Tassana wins quite often, but Braden Dalton's just done it at the most important time possible.
So a brilliant win by Boyne Up on enemy territory. They come together in the middle of the Busselton Hockey Stadium. They are the premiers for 2021. It's a sweep of the Southwest Hockey League as well, the women's and the men. Double silverware coming back to Boyne Up Hockey Club tonight.
Yeah, and the black and yellow faithful sitting down that end of the ground. They acknowledge the crowd. So many people that have played first grade throughout the years, the girls' sides here, families who have been part of this club. Such a storied club in Bunbury hockey, has produced so many great players that have gone on to international level, and they are as happy as can be tonight. And I tell you what, Jason Vuletic, if there's one man who needs a free beer tonight, I think it's Jason Vuletic. If it wasn't for him, that game could have been 3-1, 4-1 to West, but he was just incredible.
Those 2 saves off Miles Armstrong, sort of the middle part of the 4th term, were pretty incredible. And these are awesome scenes here. Big buoying-up contingent, as we said, down in this corner of the ground, and their players getting to their travelling support after the game is really, really good to see. And it goes to how tight-knit this club is, and we spoke to Laurie Tyler about finals culture and what it means to play in grand finals, and that it's an expectation at this club, and what really drives their success. And I think that is a big part of it right there, the respect, the mutual respect between the new premiership players and the travelling support.
Yeah, we did speak to Laurie as part of the Southwestern Times, obviously the Southwest's biggest and leading newspaper, and we spoke to Laurie, and he said that exact thing that you talked about. But it goes to show they've obviously had success today and last night, but it goes to show the amount of people here, success on field doesn't happen by fluke. It happens by everything behind the scenes, and there's a lot of volunteers here, a lot of people who have made this club what it is, and they are fully part of it, and they're getting appreciated by the players.
And a 14th premiership for Kane Weatherall.
That is ridiculous.
Lots of people play whatever their chosen sport is and don't win one.
I wouldn't mind one off him. I'll ask if he's got a spare for me.
It's pretty incredible stuff. We'll get to the presentations in just a moment. Just a really quick tip for player of the game.
Oh, I think it's hard to go past Dalton probably for that goal. If it was up to me, I think Vuletic or Weatherald, McGeo, and then obviously everyone likes the Toma that goes in the roof, and they're often quite flashy.
So we'll leave you with the presentations, and we'll be back in a short moment.